flowers bloom in spring. Tell me who gives the air that you breathe. Ooh. Everything that you need he will provide, so you may as well come on and give him a try. 'Cause he's awesome. Ooh, he's awesome. He's awesome. What would I do without him? Couldn't even move without him. I don't wanna be without him. He's awesome.
What's up, ladies? Welcome to ZMR Ministries. I'm Pastor Z, and it's Friday, so you know tonight is Girl Talk. Now tonight's topic is called Hiding in the Shadows. Why are we so afraid to open up? Now, of course, I got the Bridget sisters with me. I got Bridget and Simone, and we're going to be talking about this thing. And I'm actually excited to dive right into it because we got some people at the table that don't like to open up. Everybody. Every last one of us. At least Simone's like, yeah. So y'all know how we do on Fridays. We just dive right into it, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So, y'all, why do we insist on hiding in the shadows where we don't want to come into the light, we don't want anything exposed, and we just keep everything to ourselves? We'll start with you, Simone.
I knew you would. Give me that question again.
Okay. Bridget?
I think one, because that has to open me up to be hurt.
Yeah.
So it's easier for me to just keep things to myself and to keep stuff in the shadows, because I feel like sometimes when you share some things, sometimes that can be mishandled.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and that is something from the past to where I've put trust in people and it's been mishandled. So it's just easier to go ahead and keep to myself versus giving you any ammunition that you can use.
Right. Simone, why do you think people hide in the shadows?
I feel like kind of what she said, and also that's the way you protect yourself.
So it's a defense mechanism.
It is.
Yeah. So my thing is, I have, I guess, a multi-faceted idea of why people do that. I'm going to start with me. It is a defense mechanism. And not only that, it's like when I did invite people into my world and I shared things, either it was mishandled or it wasn't taken seriously. Betrayal was there. And so it's like, it's always a negative feeling that comes along with it. And so I stopped being so open. And it's like, I'd rather just keep it to myself so that I can protect myself from any negative, side effects or consequences, or, have to suffer the pain of it being mishandled. Now, some people are just extra private people. I know some folks, they never been hurt, not in that regard, because they've always just kept their mouth shut anyway. It's like, they like, my mama was like that, my daddy like that, we just people that don't, share information. And some people are just naturally not sharers. And so I think it can be a learned behavior. And I also think it can be trauma. So I know that we are all private people, and we all have our own reasoning, for being so private. Is it something that you learned, or did it come from a traumatic experience? I mean, y'all sisters, so
what I'm saying, and thinking about it as in, do you think it was something we learned?
I think it's a little bit of both. Because how our family is, whatever happened, you suck it up. Let's go.
Right.
You ain't gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
What you crying for? Suck it up, come on. So it wasn't nothing to where, okay, well, let's talk about it, how it make you feel, this and that. It was, you don't talk about it, come on.
Right.
And I think, it was a lot of traumatic stuff. It was some, I ain't gonna say a lot, it was some traumatic stuff that happened. But with that, it's a defense mechanism. That is my greatest defense mechanism. I can shut you completely out.
Right.
And I guess I can think too, I guess we can't say, well, it was. We just didn't verbalize things, you know, and it was there. And then sometimes when you do verbalize it, you feel like nothing's gonna come from it anyway,
Right.
you know, or you're just being extra sensitive, or you're just being emotional, or you know, you feel like you're not being taken seriously. So it gets to a point where you say, it's not going to be serious, or nobody understands me anyway, so there's no point in me saying it because you can't help me.
Right.
So it's really no point in saying it because you don't understand.
So do you think we are all that way because we have tender hearts? Because I know you know, of course, people can see Bridget's heart a little better than they see ours. I think, you know, with Simone and I, we get the bad rep that we just hard. We have this concrete exterior where it's just like, I don't even want to fool with them. Bridget's the sweet one, and it's just like we melt all the time. You know, y'all just don't see it.
Right.
And so why do you think we get that bad rep, Simone?
I think it's how you come across.
Right.
I know everybody that said they meet me, the first time they meet me, they think I'm mean. Or have an attitude. Yeah, kind of whole, right?
No, I'm just saying, like, I put myself in the boat with you.
No, but yeah, so I guess that's how I come off to people initially. But once they get to know me, everybody loves me. So I'm just like,
Everybody.
yes.
Okay.
Everybody.
Okay. Well, when I think about hiding, when we think about the topic, hiding in the shadows, most people hide out of fear, right? And most people hide out of shame. Some people hide out of guilt. And for whatever reason it is, whether you were betrayed, whether information was mishandled, whether it was a traumatic experience, you know, most people just like to say, oh, I'm good, I'm private, I just won't say nothing else. But you're really covering up and you're hiding, and you want to stay in that shadow because you're afraid of the light. And so when I say light, it's just being exposed. And especially in any type of relationship, we have to be okay to be vulnerable. And so when do you know it's okay to come out of the shadow? Or are you still figuring it out?
I'm still figuring that one out.
Uh-huh.
My whole deal is, I'm not going to open up to you until I know your intentions. I don't know you. And I can be in a relationship with somebody for years, and there has always been a complaint. They still don't know me. They're just like, you're so hard. It is hard to get through. There's no affection. So, I mean, for me, it's just, I have to feel comfortable with you. And that may take me years for me to feel comfortable. So it's just really, that's what I'm working on. Feel like,
Yeah, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, this your sister, you know, and you've been knowing me for years. And Simone don't even open up to us. It's not, if anybody watching this and they like, I know Simone. It's like that. But it's like, no, we know Simone. we lived in the house with her. Bridget did all her life.
my whole life. And I
I don't know her. And it's like, you know, you get a lot of people who are like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I remember somebody asking me, this is a true story, because I had become very isolated. And you know, I like to tell y'all that sometimes I put myself on my own little planet. And they were like, well, you keep yourself away from people and you're very lonely. Do y'all feel lonely when you're hiding in those shadows? When you're keeping everybody out, or you're just saying, I just want to be to myself because I don't trust anybody else? Is that lonely for you?
I don't think so, because I think for me, ever since long I can remember, I have always had to deal with stuff on my own, and that's how I did it. So it's like, how can I be lonely? And I never, deal with stuff for somebody else. I've always done it for myself. So it's kind of like, I'm not used to having somebody there where, okay, now let me work on, you help me deal with something. So for me, no, because I don't know what it's like to, okay, here's somebody here to help.
Right.
So,
is it that no one was there to help, or you didn't receive the help that was there?
Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know.
I see Bridget nodding her head. Bridget, what's your input on that?
I think sometimes you were so protected that it was never brought out that you needed help. You know, in a sense, and for yourself.
Oh.
As in to say, I even as, you know,
Y'all see that wall real quick?
because she was like, what? I flipped this whole table. You know, that's
Not this one.
and that's the whole, you know, the thing. I, like, as your sister, I didn't know or wouldn't know a lot of things that you would do because it was never brought to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I wouldn't know, but I would help, you know, whatever you would need because I'm your sister. You know, to be here to help you, but some things I didn't know. Or not, I mean, I still don't know because I don't know what on some of you did. You know, on some things that would be there I wouldn't know.
Right.
So, you know, to say, okay, we didn't know. And sometimes it can be like that because we just don't know.
Right. Do you believe that it's reciprocated? Like you in turn became more internalized because you. And I'm asking this because I know a lot of times when you feel like you're putting yourself out there, you know, you'll open up to somebody or share something, and then it's like you sharing by yourself, and then you like, I'm not gonna tell you nothing else because now I'm sitting up here crying by yourself and you just sitting here staring at me. And that's happened to me before too. And so do y'all think that that's happened to y'all and it's like it left you feeling like, you know what, I don't never tell nobody nothing, no way, and here I am trying to talk to you and it's not reciprocated and it made you run back in your shell?
I think if, you know, I think some people when they're trying to help, they do too much.
What's too much?
Or you're helping by, you're trying to tell me how I should feel about something or what I should do. I'm very big on, if you ain't ever been through it, don't tell me how I'm supposed to feel.
Right.
Don't tell me, oh, do this or be like this. How you know? So it's like, people, sometimes they may have good intentions, but sometimes it just, that's not helping.
Right.
So for me, it's like, if I feel like you're doing that, then it's just like, I ain't gonna fool with you.
Have you experienced that, Bridget?
Yeah. And I think sometimes on some of those things because it has been on the emotional one. Or you know, in a sense the emotional one can come across as you not strong.
Right.
You know, or it doesn't matter because she's gonna cry about it anyway. You know, or somewhere else. But then too, even when I wanna say when we were brought up, or in the sense of whenever I had a child out of wedlock, you know, that wasn't there. You know, we weren't married or anything else like that. And it's like you're made to feel guilty for some of the things that you've done. You know, and it's kind of like one of those where it's like, don't ask anybody for help because that's your problem. You know, you created that. This is your problem, so you fix it. So I think there's some things there where even when you ask for help, or the time I ask somebody for help, they bring it back up. You know, so it goes to a point to where I think where I've gone into a shell, or I've gone to a point to say that I'm not going to ask anybody for help. And it's hard for me to ask for help because at the times when I have needed it, it was either like, this is your fault, you know, you fix it, yeah, or it's brought back up again, or if I borrow, say, money or something, and people who know me, it's hard enough for me to borrow. You know, if you're continuing to say, well, when you gonna give me my money back? When you gonna get this? Every conversation that's, hey, if I told you I'm gonna give it back, I'm going to give it back.
Right.
Give me the opportunity to do it.
Right.
You know, so it's like one of those, and we've talked before about, for me, cutting people off or something else like that. That's one of those things for me. You got one time. You had one time with me on that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna burn you. You know, and I'm not going to do that. So to me, I feel like now you question my character. So that's like a cutoff for me, but it stemmed back from my experiences when I was younger, and even in decision that I made, to where you're made to feel like, don't ask anybody else. You created this, you did this, you fix it. So it's kind of like you start to get that idea that everybody is like that.
Right. And you know what? Simone said something that I totally agree with, you know, checking people's motives. And, you know, I was one of those people that wouldn't ask for nothing, or I wouldn't open up about stuff. And then, you know, you get people who tell you, you know, open up, you need to open your mouth, you need to say this, you need to, don't keep that stuff in. And then you do, and nobody is anywhere to be found. And so it's like, you pulled me out of this cave over here, and for what? Do you get what I'm saying? And so whenever I was, you know, really this topic hit my heart, you know, and I was actually in the car, I think, when I called you. I was driving down the street, and it hit me, and I was just like, you know, I get heat all the time because it seems like I'm so bottled in. Which, you know, I'm like, I'm not bottled in, I'm just bottled in with who I want to be bottled in with. You get what I'm saying? And so what people need to understand is, if that barrier has been created, you need to do a self-assessment. And you need to ask yourself, okay, if Simone isn't opening up to me, Bridget isn't opening up to me, or, you know, Zanya isn't opening up to me, or whoever you are, whatever your name is, and you think of somebody that's not opening up and they're hiding in a shadow, you need to ask yourself, okay, is this across the board or is it just me? And if you think it's just you, you may want to have a conversation and ask, why is there a barrier? And so that's what I want to ask you guys, you know, is this something that's across the board? You know, it's almost like I do not disturb. where it's across the board, you know, and some people even go as far as where they think I blocked them, and I'm like, baby, you're not that important for me to be blocking you. But is it, you know, is you withholding things or holding things to yourself, is it across the board or is it only with select people? I know for me it's select people. Select.
Well, I guess I already answered that question back me earlier.
It's across the board.
Across the board.
Now, Simone, you're married. How does that work out in a relationship? Because we single, you know.
It was like we talked about earlier. We had problems in the very beginning. He had his problems. I had mine.
Right.
That was mine. That was one of his complaints.
Yeah.
So for him, it was like, how can I be affectionate with you and I can't get to you?
Right.
You know, yeah. And I mean, what you talking about? I'm here. You know, I'm going through these emotions. What else do you want?
Yeah.
So I said, it's really having me now to be like, okay. Let me really, okay.
Right. Is it a desire of y'all's though to say I want to be more open, or is it something that you just like, I'm gonna do it because we need to work on our relationship? And you get what I'm saying? Because it's different for everybody. Some people are just dead set on staying in the corner and they're okay with it. And I have to be honest. A part of me is, I mean, not even a part. I'm okay with being in my little dark corner. And I wouldn't even call it dark, honestly. I just called it hiding in the shadows because, you know, everybody else is probably dancing in the light. And just because I'm over in the shadow don't mean no light is over there. You get what I'm saying? This room is lit up. Y'all can't see all the lights that are here, and it's casting shadows. It doesn't mean it's dark over there. It just means a shadow is hidden. And I don't care to be out in the light with everybody else. And so the reason why I'm really wanting to have this discussion is because I think some people take isolation or being to yourself as a negative thing.
Yeah.
What's y'all take on it?
I think for me now, like I said, I guess me opening up is something I have to learn.
Right.
So
is it something you're learning?
Yes, it's something that I am learning.
Yeah.
And I guess it is a desire for me to a certain extent. But then there's a part of me, this has been me my whole life.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm content with it. I'm good. I know how to maneuver in it. So there's a part of me that feel like, you figure out how to deal with me. And I can't be like that. And I know I can't be like that.
Bridget's like, Lord help my sister.
And I know, okay, I can't be like that. But I think even for the desire to want to do it, because I have a son now. So it's like, I gotta be, you know, I gotta teach him how to be open.
Right.
And I said as much as, you know, I'd be like, okay, I don't want him to be like me, don't act like me. I see it in him. And I'm just like, and so it's made me be like, okay, man, let me do better.
Right.
Because it's like, I see me, and I'm just like, oh no.
So what's the first steps, y'all? You know, because I heard you say just now, Simone, you know, it's a desire now because I have to learn how to open up. Especially, you know what? I think that is so good because I think with Bridget and I, we've been open before. And now we are in the shadows because of her. Whereas Simone has never been open. And I know some of you are watching like, you know, I'm with Simone. I don't understand what the problem is. You know, everybody else just needs to adjust.
Yes.
What I think for me, there's a part of me that desires to be open again. And I think it's because there are times when I really do need help. There's times when I really do want to be able to share and really want to be able to open up. But my trust is so far gone from people. And it's just like, I feel like as soon as I do it, I'm going to regret the day I did it. You know, so it's a piece of me because I lost trust in people. And I feel like I would like to be able to do it because it can sometimes be draining, you know, in a sense because I'm carrying all of this, you know, by myself in a sense is how you feel. You say, okay, I'm carrying all this by myself. And then it goes back to that point to where you, people say, when you weak, you know, and then I feel like, okay, well, I'm weak if I can't fix this myself, then I'm weak.
Right.
You know, if I got to tell somebody else this, then it's my fault. You know, everything else. So it goes back to me trying to figure it out and fix it. And again, it is hiding something sometimes because now I got to admit that something has occurred.
So do you believe hiding is a form of weakness? Or do you believe it empowers you and gives you strength?
I think hiding is a form of a defense mechanism.
Yeah, but is that a weakness?
I wouldn't say it's a weakness. I wouldn't say it gives you power. It's just something you do to defend yourself.
It's a reaction.
Yeah.
What about you, Bridget, before I jump in?
I guess I could say it is, to me, is part of a character flaw to myself.
Which one?
I think it all intertwines and kind of goes together with that point of me being able to vocalize what I'm really feeling. So I feel like me not being able to vocalize things is a character flaw to me because it keeps what I'm really thinking and what I'm really feeling from being expressed, which I think sometimes causes a rift in some relationships, and even a rift in my own self and feeling because I'm internalizing my anger and I'm internalizing my hurt and I'm internalizing my feelings, and really and truly that's also causing physical issues on myself. You know, because that's adding stress. Sometimes to the point where you have insomnia. You know, certain things to over long-term periods of time is breaking you down to a point to where you're emotionally empty. Can get to a point where I'm physically empty, and it does spew over into other parts of your life.
And you know, I honestly think it could be both. And I'm gonna say, you know, I guess I should explain why. I think it can empower you when you've been too open. It teaches you, you know, to be wiser, right? So you go back and you have to regroup. You got to re-strategize. And it took me years to learn that after going through so much hurt and so much hurt and so much hurt and so much hurt. I had to learn after a while, Sonya, shut up.
Everything
just shut up. You know, don't stop being so trusting. And then I would give people chance after chance after chance, and I would give people access to hurt me and hurt me and hurt me because, as y'all know, like I said, I have a big heart and I love freely. And so it's like when people would say they sorry, I'm like, well, you know, they apologize, they say they sorry, and then it's like they would do it again, and I'm like, okay, when I say they're sorry again, you know, we're human, they make mistakes, then it happens again, and I had to learn to say, okay, Sonya, that's abuse.
Yeah.
That's abuse. And so when I drew back, it was like, okay, let me get my power. Let me up my strength. But on the flip side, you know, it can be a weakness because you're holding everything in, and so now you're becoming contaminated, and you're not letting all this stuff out, and now you're creating this bubble that's toxic, and you're taking in all the fumes. Ain't nobody else in the room with you. You know, it's almost, I know this sounds comical, but it's almost like when you're in a room and you don't fart it, and ain't nobody else in there, and you be talking, what is that? I'm like, bro, you ain't nobody else here but you. It wasn't Ginger, that's my dog. You know, it's like you did that. And so when you start to look at your world, and I've been there, y'all, and I know somebody is watching this like right now, like, Pastor Z, that's me, where you look at your world and you look at your space and you're like, okay, my bubble stinks, my bubble is foggy, my bubble is contaminated, it's full of toxins, and there's nobody here but me, and I'm doing this. And so with that being said, I had to figure out how to fight my way out. And how to do it with wisdom, because I told you before, I went into my bubble to gain my strength and my power back because I had been too open. And so it's like, how have you guys? I don't know Simone, because she said she's learning. Once you identify that my bubble is toxic because of the things that I'm internalizing, how did you start finding your way out, and how do you find a balance? Y'all smell is so funny.
Like I said, this is all new to me.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm still very closed off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can talk to you about certain stuff, but really just get deep with me, you just not gonna get it.
No.
And that's just it. I can only go to a certain point with you. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really learning how to, okay, let me get past this point. But I'm like that because I didn't know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my whole...
How long does it take, though? Because we've been friends for umpteen million years, and y'all been sisters for 2,000 years.
I don't know. I guess when I get there, I get there.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten a lot better.
You have,
I've gotten a lot better. Because I sure would not have been sitting here with you.
This is true.
Talking.
Actually, when I called her about the episode, she was like, I don't think that's the episode for me. I don't know how comfortable I am.
I told you I pray on this.
She did. I was like, girl, you ain't got to pray. Come on out this shell, sugar. You know, and I'm proud of you. Let me y'all applaud her. I know y'all. see what I'm saying? Trying to give her props. But you know, are you with the people that's related to Simone? You have to be very careful, and you have to be very sensitive, because the moment that they start coming out a little bit, and you like, what? I can't believe that. That will make them say, okay, you know what? That's it. That's it right there, right? And you like, and it's like, you know, I'm trying to be open. So what I have learned to do with Simone is when she starts opening up a little bit, I get quiet. I'm like, I'm listening. You know, I hear, that's good, Simone. You know, it's like you have to milk it, and not milk it like you weak, let me lick you, but it's like you be extra careful. And you have to be caring enough and willing enough to be patient. Because so y'all know I love Golden Girls. And I don't know if y'all Golden Girls fans, but it's an episode, right? Y'all hear me out. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere with this. So there's an episode on Golden Girls where Dorothy and Sophia Dorothy is helping Sophia at this, I guess, this homeless little place where they have apartments, and they're feeding the people there. And Dorothy goes to one guy's door, and he opens it, and he's been in there since the 70s. I mean, he done missed all these different eras, and he has on disco clothes, and it's because he was scared to come out. Mm-hmm. And so Dorothy is baiting him the whole show, trying to get him to come out, and she got him comfortable enough where he's coming out little by little by little, but every time he would come out, something dramatic would happen. He's like, oh my God, and he would just run right back in. And so I remember on one part of the episode, they convinced him, just come to the store, it's gonna be fine. And he's like, you know what, I think I'm ready. And he gets to the store and he walks in, all these bells go off, you are the 100. And he's like, he takes off. And so it's like when you're dealing with people, and I'm relating that to Simone because it's like when you're dealing with people like that, you can't come with a whole bunch of bells and whistles. She's like, You just can't because it pushes them right back in their shell. But when do you start taking I guess not the responsibility, but having the strength and the boldness enough to say, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit right here, and then I'm gonna see how that is. And I'm smiling because I've had conversations. She looking crazy, but I've had conversations with her and where she's opened up about a little thing, and then she's like, yeah, okay. she's and I'm laughing, but she's like, yeah, okay, good, all right, and you're like, okay. Are you finding that that's working for you?
To give a little?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does it still make you cringe?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even with the, just ain't trying to tell y'all, I love y'all.
Just take it how you can get it, Bridget.
I mean, I know y'all do, but.
And what she means by that is, we'll say, all right, Simone, I love you. Yeah.
What you said? That too. All right.
Great.
I'm like, she really love me. You know that? And it goes back to having to
Take
be.
me as I am.
Right.
And you have a great time.
And I mean,
All right. Good night.
So
That's
what?
what she does.
Yeah. So what? To what she says, and a lot of people that when they do meet her, and one of my friends say she mean as a rattlesnake. I'm like, no, she's not. I'm like, no, she's really not. Mm-hmm. But once you get to know her, in a sense, she's really not me. And it is accepted as at the same time. I just knew growing up, she's not gonna tell me she loved me. She's not gonna verbalize that and say I love you. But I know my sister loves me.
And see, you know what though? She explained something to me one day, and this is, I promise we're not just harping on Simone, we're about to move on. I'm just using her as she like, I'm trying to figure it out, that y'all set me up. We didn't set you up, Simone, I swear. I remember one time she told me, we were sitting at the house because we were all roommates, and she was like, I feel like I shouldn't have to tell you all the time that I love you. Mm-hmm. I'd rather show you. And she was like, if I show you that I love you, to me, that's better than words. And we understand that people have love languages, and I'm not quoting it like, minimizing it. But to her, it's like, you can tell me anything.
Right.
And that goes to, who she is as far as, being protective. It's like, I don't care what you tell me, you show me.
Is what you're going to do.
Exactly. And that's what I'm going to believe. I'm going to believe your actions over your mouth all day. Right?
So people can lie to you all day.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have to watch people are going to show you who they are. Their flaws.
Right.
They'll show you, yes, who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They have to go back to what they know.
Mm-hmm.
So if you sit here telling me you love me all day, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what you're doing.
Right.
And if you doing stuff that doesn't match up with what you're saying, yeah, I hear you.
And you know what? For me, of course, I'm in a shell, and people can say, well, that's because you're hurting, and once God heals you, because I've got that. Once God heals you, you're going to come out. I'm like, no, baby. This ain't got nothing to do with pain. This has to do with God healed me over here in my own corner, and I'm using wisdom. But I know one thing that I have to work on is because I'm such an introverted extrovert, but I love people. And so when I open myself to have friendships, and then the friendships, I start trusting, and you kind of get it in your head that you don't expect people to be like you, but it's like once you are no longer friends, you expect them to have the same type of loyalty as you did. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that is me.
Right.
My whole deal is I may not talk to you all the time. Mm-hmm. I may not be affectionate towards you.
Right.
I may not, whatever it is that everybody needs, whatever. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if I say you my friend, if you say, hey, I need help with X, Y, and Z,
right.
If you say, hey, this is a situation going on, I'm gonna go with you. I may not know what the situation is. I'm still gonna go with you. And it's like, that's what I consider a friend. So if you're not doing that with me, you're not my friend.
And you know, what I have learned, and I've had to learn this more recently, is and Bridget knows it was a hard lesson, you know, where I had opened myself up to, you know, say, okay, you know, I'm gonna befriend some people, and you know, I start trusting them. You know, we're exchanging information, we're talking, because you're thinking you're telling somebody something in confidence. And what ended up happening was they quit being my friend, and then they ran back and they told everything. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, we ain't got to ever talk. You know, but I'm not, you just gonna throw me under the bus, and it's like, I can throw you right back. Yeah. But it's like, that's not even who you are, and you don't become that person just because, you know, this is what happened to you. But I'm saying that because what it did was put me back in the shell. And I was just like, oh, well, see, that's why I'm like, Drake, I don't need no new friends. And so now, you know, when people come to me now, and it's just like, hey, sis, pause, bro. Nah. Go on back over there. I'd rather be by myself. I'm gonna go on back over here in my little shadow, in my little cave, because I came out and opened myself and tried to befriend you and tried to trust, and that's something I don't do. And then it's like, you shallow, and you breach that trust, and it doesn't matter if we don't talk no more. It's like, I ain't gonna do you like that. And so then I had to, like I said earlier in the conversation, I had to look at myself. My friend Mia always puts it like this. She's like, you know, whenever something happens to you, you need to look at yourself and say, did I sow this seed? And so it really made me look at myself and say, okay, did I sow this seed, and this is what's happening to me? And if I did, then I apologize. God, I repent, this, that, and the third. And then you have to get rid of the shame and guilt, and then go on and move with your life. And you have to move differently. So Bridget, what do you feel, you know, are your steps that you feel like you've taken in order to come out of that hiding place?
I think for me, on some of it too, part of me is not gonna come out of that hiding place,
right? Because
it is a protection for me, and that is a boundary that we talk about that I have to put up,
right?
Because I am so giving. But at the same time too, because I have been hurt,
right?
I kind of look at it like going into a swimming pool. I'm gonna step off the steps just a little bit, you know, with that person, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of trust. I'm gonna give you a little bit of information. I'm gonna give you a little bit of me. And if I see that you can handle that,
right,
and I can trust you, then I can walk a little bit deeper into the pool. You know, until the point to where I'm all the way in with you because I trust you. I know you, where loyalty lies. You know, everything else when it's there. And I think it is a process. With some people, it may take longer than others.
Right.
With some people, because of who they are and who their character is, it may not take as long. You know, when you're walking through that process. But again, well, they say try the spirit by the spirit. So it's the same thing. I gotta see that I can trust you, because you can't tell me all day. And I've had people to tell me that. Ask me, I don't mind, you know, helping you when you need some help, this, whatever. So I say, okay, let me see, because I need it. So one, because you know me, you knew it was hard enough for me to even be able to ask you. And this is someone who was actually trying to date me. You're so hurt. Pointed it out. You don't allow a man in your life because you've been hurt. Everybody's not like that. You know, A, B, C, D. And I say, okay, well, let me test it and see.
Yeah.
I needed some money. You know, so I was like, okay, let me ask. Let me see. And whenever I asked, I received it. But I mean, within a day, it was kind of like, and there was no sexual activity. There was nothing, you know, before that, anything. But when I received the money, it was kind of like, well, you know, at this point, I loaned you that money. You should give me something now. So when I pointed out, and I say, really? You know, I said, oh, okay. So you think it's $200,000 now? So I was just like, you sure right. Guess what? I guarantee you had this money within 24 hours. Nah, I was just kidding. Just kidding. Now that's the truth to every statement that's made. You know, that's where it put me to where I went all the way back. Like, oh, okay, I got you. You know, from this point, now I'm gonna go back, and you know, and it's a little bit harder, you know, for me. But never again have I asked or will I ask you for a thing.
Yeah.
Because when I needed it, you showed me what you were about. So it's, to me, again, it goes just like that. If I see I went over too deep, I'm gonna come right back up out that pool.
Right. Yeah, that can be very disheartening. Very disheartening, because it's like you're trying to take those steps, and it's like one little thing, and you're gonna be like, oh dude, don't go to girls. Running back into your apartment like, no, I'm not going for that. And so I know there are a lot of people, and let me say this. I think that we are so misunderstood. And it's because people who don't understand it or don't have the capacity for us or have not had our experience, they're not gonna understand, and they're gonna look at you like, man, the Bible says man should not be alone, and so you need to come around people, you need to do this and you need to do that, and if you continuously not being around anybody and not opening up, then you're putting yourself in prison. And it's like, no, you can look at it as a prison. This is my safe haven.
And it goes back to people trying to hear the Bible. First of all, don't tell me nothing about the Bible.
Right.
Which, that's fine, whatever. But it don't come and try and throw some Bible stuff at me.
To make me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't know what I have been through. Don't do that.
And you know what? I've even tried, and Bridget knows, this is another thing. I've even tried, on a couple of occasions. But here recently, where you try to open your heart and you try to, throw scenarios out so people can understand, okay, and I'm not just this closed in person. I have a reason for everything. And so sometimes people are just so gung-ho on misunderstanding, and they already have a mindset on what it is or who you are, that it's hard for them to believe anything else. And so what it is you waste your time. And then you're putting out information that didn't need to be put out. You're releasing things that should have just been kept to yourself. And so now you're beating yourself up like, see, I shouldn't have said nothing. Now I'm worried about, are they gonna go back and say something? Well, if they do, I don't care. Yeah. I'm not afraid to repeat it. But it's just unnecessary drama that you shouldn't even have to endure. And so it's like, for y'all that are listening, whether you are us or you are the other people that you're like, no, I know a lot of isolated people, it's unnecessary. You don't know people's story. You don't know the origin of why they're doing something. You don't know why they're hiding in the shadows. And I'm saying that as a metaphor. We're really not. I'm not hiding.
I'm not hiding.
Are you hiding, Simone? I'm not hiding. And so it's like isolation, I know people like to think, oh, well, when you isolate yourself, that's not good. The enemy gets to fooling with you. But sometimes God will put you in a place of isolation. Whether it's to protect you, whether it's to grow you, whether it's grooming you. When you think of a caterpillar going into a cocoon, they go through a metamorphosis. And that time in that cocoon, they have to be isolated in order for them to break out and be everything that they need to be. So you don't know how God is dealing with people in their cocoon. Now, like I said in the beginning, if you are in a space where your bubble has become toxic, then it's like, find your way out. You know what I'm saying? Open a window, crack a door, that poke a little hole for a little bit and just try a little bit at a time. But it's you can't prejudge, and you can't misconstrue things, and you can't, draw assumptions or be presumptuous about people's situation, because you don't know. And don't get offended, like Simone said, because some people don't care. They really just want information.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And when you're somebody that don't give people any information, people will make up stuff, or they'll pretend to care just so they can figure out what's wrong with you. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that so many times. And so I guess, what I want us to get to a resolve of helping somebody out there, because there are so many people that are like me, I said earlier that Bridget and I, we've been burnt. It's been pain. And that's why we, not hiding, but, we've become more reserved when it comes to releasing information. But the reality is I had to learn that I burnt somebody too. And they are probably in their isolation because of me. And like I've said so many times on other episodes, my friend Calvin always says, you're the villain in somebody's story. And so whether you had good intentions, you couldn't have, it could have been where you didn't even have malice. Your motives could have been, really pure. But at the end of the day, they felt betrayed, they felt let down, they felt mishandled. And it's like, okay, take that responsibility and go on and learn your lesson and go on. However, there is some people that's watching right now and they're just like, okay, I'm like Simone. I want to find my way out. I'm taking baby steps, and you probably looking at Simone like I'm with her. I want to hear some updates on her story. Can y'all do a part 2 to help me out a couple of months from now so I can see where to go? Because so many people don't know how to do it. They just simply don't know how. And so, Bridget, I guess I'm gonna ask you because Simone is just like I'm still trying to figure it out. Do you have any advice on how to do it for the other Simones that are watching?
Don't feel guilty about where you are. It's a process and it's okay. And there are people there who really are concerned about you. And they will accept you where you are and in your process. And just know that it is a process. And as long as you're taking those baby steps and you're putting one foot in front of the other and you're being conscientious of it, then I think it's okay. Because at the end of the day, we're all in a process. And we're all growing where we need to be. And I think with any of us, not just Simone, with, all of us, sometimes we can't be, and I know even with myself, I can't be mad at other people or feel like people don't understand in a sense if I'm not open, to allow people in. So sometimes if I'm not gonna allow you in, then I am choosing to stay in a place. And if that's where you wanna be, then that is your choice. And you be happy where you are. But if you do wanna change, then know you are gonna have to give a little bit to get a little bit, that's there. But don't open yourself up all the way to where you're allowing yourself to be hurt. And you're allowing yourself to be damaged. Or you're allowing yourself to change your morals. Because at the end of the day, some changes are good, but when you begin to have to question your morals, when you begin to have to say, I'm changing into something who I thought I would never be, and I begin to lose myself, then you need to go back, like I said before, and evaluate and reevaluate where you are.
And you know what? Also understand, because I know the enemy has a way of, playing tricks on your mind. Like nobody wants to be around you. That's why nobody likes you. That's why nobody wants to be close to you. You're repellent. No, you're never gonna let anybody in. People are sick of you. Nobody's gonna. That is, those are lies from the enemy.
Right.
God will send the right people in your life who will be patient, who will be loving, who will be long suffering. They won't try to force their way in, like Simone was talking about these certain kind of people, and they are so annoying. They won't try to use the word against you, like Calvin says, a weapon. And they will take a step back and wait as long as they need to, because they sincerely care and they see past all the flaw. One of my friends, Patricia, I remember when we first met, I was so guarded, and we talk about it all the time. And she was sweet as pie, y'all. She really was. She just loved the Lord, and she was just always just like, "Hi, Sonia," and I was like, "Oh, what do you want? What is it?" And I remember she said she prayed, and she was crying because she was like, "This girl is so mean. God, why did you put her in my life? I don't want to deal with her." And she said when she prayed, God showed her my heart. And she was like, and it really made me just smile, because I was like, man, God, she has so much love in her heart. She has, and all people see is this hard shell, but God gave me a preview of what's beyond it. And so it's like, if there's somebody in your life, whether it's family, whether it's friends, and you're like, man, I have been trying and trying and trying. It doesn't matter if it's Simone. It doesn't matter if it's like me and Bridget. It's one of those things where you just like, okay, God, give me the patience. Show me how to love them. Show me how to wait. Or do like my friend Patricia said, God, show me her heart. Show me his heart. So that way I won't feel like I'm doing this for nothing. That way, when God put a Bridget in my life, when God sends pastors in my life, I won't feel like it's me. And I won't feel like, okay, what's wrong with me that they can't open up? Do they not trust me? Do they not love me? Like we said earlier, Simone don't say I love you. We don't feel like unloved when it comes to her. Like, you know what? I'm just tired of you, Simone. I'm sick of not being able to talk to you. This is one-sided. So you go about your business and you just stay in that corner.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And so it's like, it's one of those things where we just understand where she's at. And it's one of those things where, and don't get it twisted. Don't think me and Bridget are super open either. Because Bridget knows, honey, I was shut down. And she just gives me my space, and she just like, okay, when you done, I'll be here, and I just be like, because I'll disappear on you. Praise God.
I feel like too, when you want somebody to open up, you have to understand what you truly asking for, because you may have somebody that will open up to you, and they may tell you some things of how they felt, and it may offend you to where now you on the defense, like, well, why you saying that? Why you feel like that about me? Da, 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 da. And that will shut down everything.
Listen.
So I think I've had a lot of people tell me, "Why don't you open up to me? Why don't you open up?" And I feel like there's certain things, if I did, it may offend you. So how about you leave me alone?
And you know that, go ahead,
Because I said at the end of the day, like I told y'all, if I talk to you, it's gonna be very blunt.
Right.
And it may come out, but it may sound wrong or it may sound, but if this is how I felt, this is how I felt.
Yeah.
People have to be in a position to be willing to hear and to be willing to understand and be willing to listen.
Yeah.
And at the same time too, you have to know the intent behind the words and where you're coming from. And if somebody's not ready to be in that position, then it's no point in having a conversation, because you're gonna be talking to a brick wall. And that's the truth. And it doesn't matter what anybody say. Or who tries to tell you, well, you need to try, you need to do this. No, if I know you're not ready to hear what I have to tell you, then there's no point in me telling you this conversation.
Right.
And it is too, if that person does come to you and say, okay, well open up, and say it, they gonna have to be ready to take it too. And then if you're ready to open up to talk to that person, you gonna have to be ready to take what comes from it too. Because it's gonna have to be a two-sided conversation, and both parties have to be willing to take what's coming from it and say that I'm ready to move forward. And it's gonna have to be one where you're not putting it's gonna be an emotional, non-emotional conversation, because it's gonna be emotional. And then at the same time too, you're gonna have to take your emotions out of it.
Right.
So it's gonna be at that point, because you don't want that conversation to end up putting you back in the box. So that's the main thing.
And I totally agree with Simone and Bridget, especially when Simone said, be careful what you're asking for. Because then, and I told y'all earlier in the conversation, this recently happened, and it's like, it was just too much for them. And so, I remember I was just like, that's why you need to keep your hands off of certain things. That's why some conversations you don't need to know about. That's why, when you looking at people and you saying, well, just let me know, and they let you know, and it's too much for you to have, I don't want to know it, and it's like, well, you should have asked. Right. You should have asked. And so it's like, you don't know what you're ready for. And that's why it takes going back to the Lord in prayer. In prayer. When you are dealing with certain people who are closed off, you pray and ask God, yes, show me their heart. But Lord, the stuff that I'm trying to get to, let me know if I can handle it. Because I may not be equipped. I may not have the tools. And then you're going to leave crazy, and just out of your mind, and we still functioning. You get what I'm saying? And it's like, you don't want to find yourself in a place where you have drawn somebody out of a cave, and then they have taken the time to open up, and then you can't even handle what they have opened up about, and then it sends them back in the cave, and then you all messed up because you can't walk a mile in somebody's shoes. And that's not where you want to be. You want to stay prayerful, and you want to be patient, and remember, put yourself in their shoes. Put the shoe on the other foot. How would you want to be handled? When you were in a broken place, or you was in an isolated place, and I'm not saying that we are broken. Everybody is broken a little bit on the inside. Some people are broken a lot of it. So, anybody that's walking around saying, I'm not broken, well, you just keep living. keep living. You know what I'm saying? And so I wanted to talk about this and let me express this. This is not an easy conversation for us to have.
Not at all.
Right, at all. And I know we sit up here
you
talking.
didn't notice it was a struggle to even get this, like,
to get it out. It was like,
you go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And so it's one of those things where we all struggle. And it seems like Simone is the hardest, but honestly at some point we all hard. We're all difficult to deal with, and we all have our own shells, and we all have our own hiding places. And so when we feel like, I know me, when I start feeling like I'm being attacked, or I feel like, okay, you finna take me to a headspace that I don't want to be, I'm gonna leave you over there. And that's when I put you in a category. And from that point on, I don't care what you do, I'm like, because I remember when, you know what I'm saying? And it's like you leave it there. So I'm grateful because I know how difficult. Look at Simone, she like, ugh. How difficult this was, and I appreciate y'all, and I pray that it's healing for all of us, but especially for the people that are watching. What y'all don't know is, a lot of times we have this conversations or girl talks, it's freeing us too. Being open and honest, it's like, man, I didn't know you went through that. Oh man, when you said this, and it helps us learn each other more. And so when the cameras stop rolling and it's like, we're like, bye, keep it real, right, classy. Y'all going about your business, and we still having discussions after the camera has stopped. So I pray that you guys, whenever you with your girls, or even the fellas that are watching, it may be conversations you want to have with your boys, because I know that guys can be real isolated. And y'all don't share y'all emotions in a lot of ways. So it may be a good conversation starter for you and your homies when y'all get together, like, bro, I've been noticing this, that, and the third, is this something I can help with? What do you need from me? And I think that's also a good question as well when you're dealing with people who are locked in themselves. It's like, Simone, what do you need from me? What do you need from me, Bridget? And then she may say, nothing. Okay. Well, when you need me, I'm here. You know what I mean? And it's like you leave yourself open and you become a safe place. So when they are ready, they'll feel comfortable reaching out. So again, I appreciate the Bridget sisters. Amen. I appreciate
And see them clicks, I love you.
Right. You're like, Simone, I love you. That's it. You be like, oh,
Back at you.
Yeah, right back at you. Or she'll go, yeah.
Right.
All right. But I pray that you guys, that this is something that you guys looked at and you listened, and you're like, whether you said this is me, or now I have a greater understanding of somebody that I feel like, man, I've been a friend to them and I don't understand, God, why they won't open up to me. I'm starting to feel like this is one-sided. I'm going to just leave it alone. Lord, give me a sign. This is your sign right here. You pray and you ask God for the patience and the grace and the mercy and the long suffering, to stand by them until they are ready to open up. Because I guarantee you, once you get past this shell, it is a beautiful diamond. It is a beautiful flower. It is life there. Don't just throw it away. But you want to be prayerful and make sure that you're in a spot or you are equipped to be in that person's life, because they may come and open up to you and they're going to see you running. Amen. So thank y'all for watching tonight. Another episode of Girl Talk. Y'all know every Friday we are right here keeping it real, raw, and classy. Y'all have a safe weekend. Be blessed, and we gonna see y'all on Monday. See you later.
See you later.
Oh, yeah, right.
Get your minds, get your brains, let's do it. Get your body, get it up, now moving forward. We gotta keep it pushing. Baby, in my corner, so I gotta keep it pushing. Get your mind, get your brains. Get your body, get it up, now moving forward. We gotta keep it pushing. Baby, we gotta keep it pushing. Get your mind, get your brain. And if you got your act together, we can make it happen in any kind of weather. 'Cause I gotta make something